So hey everyone, this is Ruben and I here doing our Marshmallow and Spaghetti Challenge presentation. It's a little bit of a weird setup because we're both like sharing how to do with both of us giving the presentation. So this is gonna be a little bit different. So we're both sitting down and stuff, so you're not gonna be able to necessarily see like our mutual position and things like that, but just focus on your SSC and what you're looking for more for that we've covered all the content and that we know what we're doing. With that, then we have this, so it's shared. Hopefully you're seeing everything and we're good that way. So we're gonna start the presentation. So welcome everyone to the Marshmallow-Spaghetti Challenge here on day 2 of NYLT. And to get this started off, we're going to have a Marshmallow-Spaghetti Challenge. So the rules of the challenge are that you're gonna have 18 minutes to build the tallest freestanding structure you can using only the materials inside the bag your TGs are going to give you. You may not use the bag or any other items provided. So go ahead now, open up your bags, but don't touch any of the stuff inside of it yet. So hopefully you've gotten the chance to look around and see what's inside of your bag. You'll see that you've been given a single marshmallow, and so that marshmallow must be on top of the structure. So again, you have 18 minutes to build the tallest freestanding structure. Making sure you're only using the materials in your bag. Freestanding means that it's not supported by anything, not like any people or anything like that. And yeah, don't use the bag, just the stuff inside. So we'll go ahead and start the timer. You guys have 18 minutes. Starting now. So at this point in the presentation then, TGs, you'll be giving your patrols the material. You'll want to let them view the challenge. Just some things you'll see in your syllabus. It tells you to watch for. Is really just sort of how the patrol is interacting with each other. So like making sure that like who's taking charge, things like that are going to help you as a TG help guide your patrol. Making sure though that you guys are staying out of the problem, letting the patrols struggle, let the patrols try to figure it out. If they fail, they fail. That's not on you. And such. All right, so then after that, we have a video to show, and we're going to go ahead and play that now.
Several years ago here at TED, Peter Skillman introduced a design challenge called the Marshmallow Challenge. And the idea is pretty simple. Teams of 4 have to build the tallest freestanding structure out of 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of string, and a marshmallow. And the marshmallow has to be on top. And though it seems really simple, it's actually pretty hard because it forces people to collaborate very quickly. And so I thought this was an interesting idea, and I incorporated it into a design workshop, and it was a huge success. And since then, I've conducted about 70 design workshops across the world with students and designers and architects, even the CTOs of the Fortune 50. And there's something about this exercise that reveals very deep lessons about the nature of collaboration, and I'd like to share some of them with you. So normally, most people begin by orienting themselves to the task. They talk about it, they figure out what it's going to look like, they jockey for power, then they spend some time planning, organizing, they sketch in, they lay out spaghetti. They spend the majority of their time assembling the sticks into ever-growing structures, and then finally, just as they're running out of time, someone takes out the marshmallow, and then they gingerly put it on top, and they stand back, and ta-da! They admire their work. But what really happens most of the time is that the ta-da turns into an uh-oh, because the weight of the marshmallow causes the entire structure to buckle and to collapse. So there are a number of people who have a lot more uh-oh moments than others. And among the worst are recent graduates of business school. It's amazing. They lie, they cheat, they get distracted, and they produce really lame structures. And of course, there's teams that have a lot more ta-da structures. And among the best are recent graduates of kindergarten. And it's pretty amazing, as Peter tells us. Not only do they produce the tallest structures, but they're the most interesting structures of them all. So the question you want to ask is, how come? Why? What is it about them? And Peter likes to say that none of the kids spend any time trying to be CEO of Spaghetti Inc., right? They don't spend time jockeying for power. But there's another reason as well. And the reason is that business students are trained to find the single right plan. Right? And then they execute on it. And then what happens is when they put the marshmallow on top, they run out of time, and what happens? It's a crisis. Sound familiar, right? Okay. What kindergartners do differently is that they start with the marshmallow and they build prototypes, successive prototypes, always keeping the marshmallow on top. So they have multiple times to fix, and they build prototypes along the way. So designers recognize this type of collaboration as the essence of the iterative process. And with each version, kids get instant feedback about what works and what doesn't work. So the capacity to play and prototype is really essential. But let's look at how different teams perform. So the average for most people is around 20 inches. Business school students, about half of that. Lawyers, a little better, but not much better than that. Kindergartens, better than most adults. Who does the very best? Architects and engineers, thankfully. And 39 inches is the tallest structure I've seen. And why is it? Because they understand triangles and self-reinforcing geometrical patterns are the key to building stable structures. So CEOs, a little bit better than average, but here's where it gets interesting. If you put an executive admin on the team, they get significantly better. It's incredible. You know, you look around, you go, oh, that team's going to win. You can just tell beforehand. And why is that? Because they have special skills of facilitation. They manage the process. They understand the process. And any team who manages and pays a close attention to work will significantly improve the team's performance. Specialized skills and facilitation skills, the combination leads to strong success. If you have 10 teams that typically perform, you'll get maybe 6 or so that have standing structures. And I tried something interesting. I thought, let's up the ante once. So I offered a $10,000 prize of software to the winning team. So what do you think happened to these design students? What was the result? Here's what happened. Not one team had a standing structure. Not one had, if anyone had built, say, a 1-inch structure, they'd have taken home the prize. So isn't it interesting that high stakes have a strong impact? We did the exercise again with the same students. What do you think happened then? So now they understand the value of prototyping. So the same team went from being the very worst to being among the very best. They produced the tallest structures in the least amount of time. So there's deep lessons for us about the nature of incentives and success. So you might ask, why would anyone actually spend time running a Marshmallow challenge? And the reason is I help create digital tools and processes to help teams build cars and video games and visual effects. And what the Marshmallow Challenge does is it helps them identify the hidden assumptions. Because frankly, every project has its own marshmallow, doesn't it? The challenge provides a shared experience, a common language, a common stance to build the right prototype. And so this is the value of the experience of this so simple exercise. And those of you who are interested may want to go to marshmallowchallenge.com. It's a blog that you can look at how to build the marshmallows. There are step-by-step instructions on this. There are crazy examples from around the world of how people tweak and adjust the system. There's world records that are on this as well. And the fundamental lesson, I believe, is that design truly is a contact sport. It demands that we bring all of our senses to the task and that we apply the very best of our thinking, our feeling, and our doing to the challenge that we have at hand. And sometimes a little prototype of this experience is all that it takes to turn us from an uh-oh moment to a ta-da moment, and that can make a big difference. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. So what were some of the groups that did really good in the video? What were some groups that strived for greatness and achieved their vision of making a tall marshmallow spaghetti challenge? Anybody have any answers? If not, that's okay. Some of the good ones were the kindergarten graduates, engineers, and actually CEOs didn't do too bad. So some of the other groups that did the challenge were business school graduates and other stuff like that. So if you look at the graph here, the average is 20 inches, and there are some groups that are significantly lower than 20. What were some of the problems that they had that the kindergartners and other teams worked to fix? Well, some of the strategies that the kindergarten students used were prototyping, where they would use the marshmallow and continue building different and evolving plans from a simple structure, whilst the business students who performed the worst did it all at once and put the marshmallow on at the end. Now, what happened when they were offered a monetary prize? Well, if you remember the graph, all 10 of the teams had 0-inch structures. None of them could make a structure stand. And when there was no prize, some of them still did. Now, what about 4 months later? 4 months later, almost all 9 out of 10 of the same teams were able to achieve a structure that was higher than the one before, which was 0 inches. So what does this correlation show? It shows that incentives and low skill do not equal success, and incentives and high skill equals success.
So now we're going to talk about how this challenge went for you guys as patrols. So what were some of the things that your patrols did successfully? Great. Some of you guys got your structure to stand up. Maybe you guys used good communication. You probably followed very similar outline to what some of the people did, where they oriented, they planned, and then they enacted, and then maybe they had an or a success at the end. So what are some observations that you guys have learned based off of this challenge? And what can we learn from this exercise? Great, so we can learn that it's important maybe to communicate with each other, that it's important to make sure that we planned for those hidden marshmallows the video talked about, things that come up along the way that we aren't expecting. So before we move on, we're going to go back. Oh, sorry. So this experience additionally gives your patrol a shared experience, a common language, and prototyping and facilitation experience. So you guys, this helps you get all on the same page and working towards that same common vision. So let's go back and let's talk about what a vision is. So what is a vision? That's right, what future success looks like. We like to say, if you can see it, you can be it. So what are goals? The goals are those means towards fulfilling a vision. So remember our analogy of the elephant. Our vision is like that big elephant that we want to eat. And then our goals are those individual bites of the elephant that we're eating. We can also apply that to thinking about like Mount Everest, and you want to climb to the top. And then is your vision. And then your goals are those campsites for each of them. So now we're going to talk about the next thing below this, which is planning. So looking at what are those things that we need to do in order to eat the elephants? What do we need to do to achieve those goals of reaching each base camp? We like to say that planning is a means of efficiently reaching goals. Here at NYLT, we have an effective planning tool that we like to use that asks what, how, when, and who.
So the what, how, when, who planning tool is used because it organizes each of the questions that we need to have answered into a simple column that can be answered in order. So let's talk through the way that we use the what, how, when, who planning tool. So maybe a good example of using this planning tool is maybe planning like a menu or something like that. So what needs to be done. So say the patrol has to determine what kind of food they want to eat, what menu they want for the upcoming camp out. So you'll put that in the what column. Then you move on to the how column, which is how you want to go through and do each different thing. You need to have different steps on how to do things. So like talking to your patrol members about what they want, making sure you write everything down, selecting different dishes, so making decisions, finding recipes, listing ingredients, and determining ingredient amounts. These are all things that you go through when you're planning a menu for your troop camp out or your patrol camp out. The next column is when. So the when column is pretty useful for when you have a problem or something like that that needs to be solved in a timely fashion. So for a patrol camp out or a troop camp out, you definitely want the menu planned before the camp out. And you need to plan before you go to the grocery store. Finally, the who column. So for the who column, you decide who is responsible for each different thing. There are different levels of responsibility for each task that you must do. There are big responsibilities that older scouts or more experienced scouts might want to take on, while younger scouts might want to take on the smaller responsibilities to get experience and stuff like that. So you'll write it down in the who column, and once your name is in the who column with something to do, it's your responsibility. So once you get through the who column, you go back and you say, what's left? What did we miss? What did we forget about? And try to fill in the what, how, when, and who column for those things that you missed.
So now that we have looked at an example of using the what, how, when, who planning tool, let's just take a minute to talk about really why is it important to plan. So does anybody have any ideas? Right, when we have a plan, it increases our chance that things will go right and that we'll get our desired outcome and that we'll reach our goal. It also helps us take care of the hidden marshmallows or problems that might arise along the way. We have thought through them so we can factor them in more. So what could happen if we hadn't planned, Ruben and I, for making a meal for an upcoming camp out? Right, it would have been a disaster. We would have showed up, we would have gone hungry, or maybe we would have only had breakfast and we'd be eating waffles all weekend. It wouldn't be good. So that's why it's really important to have a plan. So now, if you guys will take out your participant notebooks and turn to page A60, we are going to do a planning tool exercise. So you guys have, in your participant notebooks, have a planning tool worksheet. And so it has the what, how, when, who planning tool. And it also has you help prioritize which planning things are the most important to plan. So we want you to take the next 5 minutes with your patrol and work on planning mealtime responsibilities. So just after this presentation, it's going to be your first meal that you guys cook as a patrol on your own. So this would be a good time to plan out who's going to be in charge of food pickup, who's going to be in charge of cooking, who's going to be in charge of cleanup for your first meal time together as a patrol.
All right, guys. So now we're going to move on to the Start, Stop, Continue evaluation tool. This is a really important thing here at NYLT. We use the Start, Stop, Continue, or SSC evaluation tool for everything we do. We use it at flag ceremonies, as you've seen before. We use it on meals. We use it on everything that we do. So the Start, Stop, Continue evaluation tool is two positives, start and continue, sandwiched around a negative, which is stop, which means that you start with something positive and you end with something positive. Feedback is a gift, and we really enjoy giving and getting feedback about everything that we do. So let's try demonstrating the SSC, or Start, Stop, Continue evaluation tool, using Jacob and my neutral position as an example. But since we're sitting down, it's kind of bad, but let's start with the feet. Am I too close to you or too far, or should I continue doing this, or what? So give me some starts, some stops, and some continues about that. Great. I think I'm maybe standing a little bit too close to you guys. Maybe I should back up a little bit. Thank you for the feedback. Now, everything else about my neutral position can be critiqued and using the SSC evaluation tool. This is a very important and useful tool that we teach at NYLT. You can use it for your troop when you come back from a camp out to say, what did we do good? What do we need to start doing? What do we need to stop doing? And what should we continue doing on camp outs? It can be used for menu planning. What should we start doing with our menu plans? What should we stop doing with our menu plans? And what should we continue doing with our menu plans? This is a very effective way of getting and giving feedback. So do you guys have anything that you any questions about SSC? All right.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit more about planning. So we've talked about 2 different planning tools. We've talked about what, how, when, who, and about SSC. And so using these 2 different planning tools, we can apply them to a lot of different aspects of our lives. So not just within scouting, but also within our home lives, within our school, within maybe our places of worship, all of these things. But back to scouting, it is really important to be planning when it comes to unit meetings. So if you have the goal of having a good meeting, it can only be achieved with good planning. So the Boy Scouts of America, they provide a lot of resources to help with planning. So one website is the Troop Program Resources website. You can find it through scouting, and it has a lot of different program features and a lot of different things to help your units plan strong programs. Also, if you turn to in your handbook, participant notebooks, to page A48, it's going to show the meeting plan we use on course. So it looks like this. So who can tell me what the first category is? Yeah, it's pre-opening. And then we have the opening ceremony, skills instruction, patrol meetings, inter-team activities, closing, and after the meeting. So on course, we're going to have multiple course meetings with our troop being all of us, and we're going to be using this planning outline. So when you guys go back to your troop, you guys can use these additionally for your meeting plans. So let's recap some of the things that we've talked about today. So you can tell me what planning is. Right, planning is the way that we take care of the details in order to achieve our goals. So why should we plan? Right, we should plan because it's going to improve our chances of success in achieving our goals. And what were those 2 planning tools that we talked about? Right, the what, how, when, who planning tool, and the start, stop, continue evaluation tool. So what's a vision? Right, what future success looks like. What are goals? Goals are the means towards fulfilling a vision. What is the what, how, when, who planning tool? Who can summarize for me what each of those steps, why you would ask each of those? Right, exactly. And then what does SSC stand for? You guys got it. Start, stop, continue. So by using all of these things, it helps us take care of those hidden marshmallows. So when we talk about the what, how, when, who planning tool and SSC, it can sometimes seem a little overwhelming that like every time we have to go through and define each of these. But I encourage you to take the time within your patrols and within your lives to define these, because when we define them, we take the step to make sure that we've covered all of the details.
All right, guys. So now you're going to have another 18 minutes to do another Marshmallow-Spaghetti challenge to try to improve on your first one. So you remember the rules from the first one. It has to be a freestanding structure. You have to use only the materials given inside the bag. You can't use the bag. And the marshmallow must be on top. So any questions? Nope. All right, go ahead.
So then they'll go ahead and do a second marshmallow spaghetti challenge. This time we're hoping that then they are using what we've taught them with planning, and then using an SSC that the troop guides will lead them through at the end. And then that concludes this presentation. So we'll ask for any questions, and then we'll go ahead and close. All right, so thank you guys for taking the time to watch through this video. I know it's a little bit different with our current situation. So please make sure to leave those SSCs in the comments. Really focusing on content. Obviously, you couldn't see our neutral position, and things are a little bit different how they view on course, but we really appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.